KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your smart mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, what is going on? This is episode 47 of the KayFabe Smark Podcast. We are the Legion of Doom on Zoom. We are the good brothers from other mothers. This is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. Make sure you guys head on over to all of our social media platforms. Get over to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. And as always, hanging out, talking wrestling, and diving into WrestleMania is Mr. Eric Todd. Eric, what is happening in your world?
Oh, you know, same old. Fell off my porch today and scraped my knee up like a little bitch. I don't know, man. I get closer and closer to 40. I'm going to need a life alert soon so I can just fall off things. And I've fallen. I can't get up.
I fall and I can't get up. I done blew up my knees.
I skinned my knee up. Damn dog wouldn't even lick my kneecap. I thought dogs love that shit. Like cleaning wounds and stuff. Guess not. Not my prissy ass dog.
Guess not. Well, Eric, it was WrestleMania. We had two big long nights, and I think that's all the meat and potatoes we're going to be able to swallow getting through all that jazz. So I think that's our main bits. But per usual, before we dive into any of that, we got some news.
We got news. Hit the ticker.
From around the world. It's the KayFabe Smark News. All right, what do you got for us, Mr. Eric Todd?
All right, usually I run this shit in chronological order, but we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of the news. Today, Thursday, April 15th, WWE, exactly 1 year after their big mass wrestler releasing of last year, released another batch of wrestlers. And there's some pretty decent names on this one, Brian.
Yes, there was a couple surprises on there. Why don't we run through the list and see who we got?
Yeah, we'll start at the top here. Samoa Joe is out the door. So I'm sure he'll find something real fast to do. Tony Khan's probably waiting to snatch his ass up.
That was the big one for me. That was the one that flipped my wig back.
All right, and then the big one for me, not really a huge fan of women's wrestlers, but I like Australian accents. So Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, a.k.a. the Iconics, are both kicked out right now, future endeavored from WWE.
Which is crazy because they were so high on the list. I mean, they won the belts at WrestleMania. Sasha Banks threw a fit when her and Bayley had to job to him at last-minute call at WrestleMania that year, like probably 35 maybe that was. I don't remember exactly, but nonetheless. And then Sasha Banks damn near quit over it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I thought they could have worked. Well, I mean, they split them up, and Peyton Royce nor Billie Kay really did anything iconic once they were single wrestlers. But yeah, they're out. Mickie James is out, which no one really cares about.
No,
she's old news. Kalisto, I don't even remember watching him wrestle at all.
Lucha House Party, right?
Is that what he's from?
I think.
I guess. Chelsea Green, she's another one I don't remember really seeing wrestle.
I don't remember her either. I was speaking with our good friend Andy, and he said that she got called up from NXT, did like a short stint, broke her wrist, and has been a wrap ever since that. She passed right through me. I missed that one.
Bo Dallas, which is Bray Wyatt's blood brother of the Rotunda fame. Bo Dallas hasn't wrestled in a long time either, but as I was reading rumors and innuendos throughout the week, Bo Dallas was rumored to be starting a program with Bray Wyatt here soon, where Bo Dallas was going to be Alexa Bliss's new partner in crime.
Oh.
So I thought they actually had something planned for Bo Dallas, and no, we were wrong.
No,
out the gate.
Hootie hoo, hit the bricks, kid.
Also, Wesley Blake. Don't remember him.
Or her. I'm not sure.
Yeah, whatever. Could be. Tucker, a.k.a. Tucky, from Heavy Machinery. That's
Yeah.
Otis's old partner.
Saw that one
And
coming.
then Mojo Rawley, which I think that was Gronk's buddy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that football guy. Yeah, he's goofy. I didn't care for him either. But that was like the only connection. They were like, "Hey, you can bring Gronk in," and then he bounced with the quickness and said, "I'm gonna go play football."
I'm gonna go win a Super Bowl or two. AEW, not to be outdone, went ahead and parted ways with Ivalise, which
Oh, really?
yeah,
Who the hell's that? No, I remember the name. I couldn't pick her out of a lineup, but I remember the name.
So yeah, I guess she was kind of on a weird contract where it was just every time she wrestled, she got paid rather than a long-term contract. And she had some issues backstage with coaches and higher ups in the company. So AEW is like, go ahead and skedaddle, Ivalise. We've got about 50,000 women who can't wrestle. We don't need 50,001.
Yeah, if they're smart, if AEW's smart, they'll grab up the Iconics, I think, to help beef up that women's division.
Yeah, I hope so. They're both pretty popular on social media, pretty entertaining folks. The Iconics, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce. So I don't know how much money Tony Khan's got laying around, what his ex-WWE star budget is, because he just snagged up Big Show and Christian, and then Sting-a-Rooney, I'm sure costs him a pretty penny. But I think he should snag the Iconics, and they could beef up the women's division for sure.
For sure. And I see Samoa Joe going there, unless he's going to go revive NXT, Jesus, criminally, Brian, TNA Impact, whatever it's going to call it. You know, I mean, he ran the show over there for a while, right? He was the guy. Or he's
That's right.
Or Ring of
When
Honor.
I was big into TNA back in the day, Samoa Joe was the guy. And so, yeah, if he wants to go back there as him and AJ Styles running the show, there's obviously no more AJ over in Impact. So who knows? Maybe Samoa Joe will go over there and be the number one guy.
The number one guy. Well, whatever that's worth. 50 cents get you a cup of coffee. Being the number
Especially
one guy.
On Impact. You get about 35,000 people watching your show.
Any other big news? That's the biggest news of the day, of the moment. We're only hours into this.
Yeah. I'd say probably the second biggest story was we reported on Jericho being scheduled to appear on Steve Austin's Broken Skull sessions. Well, that did take place after night 2 of WrestleMania. And or was that night 1?
I think it was night 1, but I didn't get a chance to watch it either way. But it was over the weekend, nonetheless.
Yeah. Nonetheless, Jericho ended up on Austin's Broken Skull sessions. People were worried they weren't going to bring up AEW at all. Surprisingly, they brought up AEW kind of a lot. Jericho talked in length about why he left WWE each time and how he ended up in AEW. I watched the whole thing, and it got kind of repetitive to me because I used to subscribe to Steve Austin's Austin Show podcast when he just did a podcast before Broken Skull sessions, and Jericho was on there in early 2018, and a lot of the stories were just basically reiterated from the original podcast, but can't really hate on that. A good story is a good story.
Yeah, I want to give it a shot. I did not have a good time to sit down that I could sit and watch the whole thing in one shot, so that's why I haven't done it yet, but it's on my list maybe this weekend to be able to just sit and give it its full attention. I don't want to watch it in pieces.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's definitely a nice sit-down couple-hour watch in one block. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but me being the Jim Cornette mark on the show here, I noticed that they didn't mention Chris's stint and Smoky Mountain at all. Now, they were the Thrill Seekers, him and Lance Storm, over in Smoky Mountain before he went to WCW. and no mention of it here. And I think Smoky Mountain played a pretty big role in Chris Jericho's success, and they just swept it under the rug.
Maybe Cornette's got more heat in WWE Titan Towers than Jericho does.
That's certainly a possibility. And Steve Austin repaid the favor and appeared on Chris Jericho's podcast, Talk is Jericho. That actually aired today, April 15th, and I have not got a chance to listen to that yet. But I guess Austin is the first current WWE star to be on Jericho's podcast, obviously since Jericho went to AEW.
The invisible door. Dun, dun, dun. The forbidden door, or whatever they called it. All the wrestling marks online.
I can hear it now, the speculation. We're gonna, next year, 2022, we're going to get AEW versus WWE pay-per-view, right?
Super show. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, right. Two egomaniacs would not allow that to happen. Who's going to go over? Vince would be like, all my guys win, no matter what. Even the guys that I bury on my own show, I won't let lose on another show.
Charlotte Flair made her return on Raw, which was kind of a big deal, and she's just out there kind of rebranded herself, remade herself. Now she's a super cocky, bitchy heel.
That's a rebranding?
I don't know. She kind of put a new coat of polish on herself there and ended up kicking Asuka's ass and Rhea Ripley's ass in the meantime too, by interrupting them during their title rematch.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a reboot for Charlotte. I'll give you that. Like, that's what it felt like, and it felt like that also by keeping her off of Mania and then having her re-debut, if you will, at the night after Raw, or I mean the Raw after WrestleMania, which is usually a big Raw. So that was like a new season, new episode. Here we go, rip roaring. We've got Charlotte Flair back in the mix, and she's here to raise hell.
Yeah, and she's got her sights set right on that WWE women's title, whichever one, Raw, SmackDown. I don't think she really gives a fuck. But but yeah, she's right where she needs to be, right at the top of the heap, even after being off TV for a little while and going through COVID.
That's it.
Rumors were circulating as a couple weeks ago that Ronda Rousey's looking to come back sometime soon. And she did an interview on Devon Dudley's podcast and said if she comes back, she would like to fight either, let's see, Becky Lynch or... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm retarded. Ronda Rousey says she wants to come back, and two of the people she would really like to face is Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. No surprise there.
Oh, the two champions? I mean, sorry.
Champions.
Spoiler alert if you don't watch WrestleMania. We'll cover it as we move on, but yeah. So, big surprise. And please tell me that Devon Dudley's podcast is called Testify. I mean, is there...
unfortunately not. It is called the Table Talk Podcast.
Devon, get the tables. It should have been called Testify. Testify with Devon. Testify!
Oh, God. I don't know why. When you said testify, I just thought of Andrew Martin Test. Just having his urn on the table during the podcast.
Oh, God. Let's move on. Any other news?
AEW and NXT both got a little boost in their ratings this week. As everyone knows, NXT split off and moved to Tuesdays after WrestleMania. AEW remains on Wednesdays. AEW drew 1.2 million viewers this week. That is a 77% jump from last week's show.
Wow.
And NXT, let's see, they had 805,000 people, which is a nice little jump from last week, but not nearly as big as AEW's.
What do you think was AEW's big jump involving Tyson? Do you think that's such a draw?
Yeah, Tyson, spoiler alert, Tyson does join the Inner Circle. So just a combination of having Mike Tyson on the show and not having any other wrestling to watch. I don't know. It was a bigger jump than I expected.
Yeah,
I thought maybe they'd be in the 900s, not 1.2 million.
Yeah, well, good for them. Good, whatever. I watched the show either way. So,
And
do we have any Peacock news?
finally, no Peacock news this week.
Oh.
Peacock was laying low.
Did it survive? Anybody? No, I didn't hear any rumblings of people hating like the service of like for WrestleMania. It worked great for me. I didn't have any issues besides that whole player thing where you have to start it live at the second. There's no start from beginning deal. Other than that, as soon as they get that figured out, I'm all in. I'm fine with it.
I watched night 2 live, and my son was kind of irritated because he came home during it and was trying to yap his jaws to talk to me, and I'm like, yeah, I can't talk right now. I can't pause this shit. I can't rewind it.
Yeah,
so I gotta watch it.
As soon as they get that figured out for live streaming, I think it's not bad. Pretty good. And then because I came home on night 1, I was late, and I tried to it was already over, and I tried to jump into
Right.
I was like, oh, cool, it'll be on. So I went to it. Well, they didn't separate the post-show to its own separate show. So the
Right.
stream was still live, so I couldn't go back and rewatch it until the post-show was over. And I just got mad, went to bed, and watched it the next morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I ended up watching night 1 on a replay, and Peacock was not shy about shoving commercial breaks in there. So
I went for the $10 version, so I'm good.
yeah, like I said before, I don't even have the option for the $5. It's either I get the $5 version for free or I got to pay $10. And I don't know,
Free
$5
wins.
is $5.
Free wins.
$10 is $10.
So we did have Peacock news, just a little. Our own Peacock news.
Right. Just talking about our peacocks here. The WWE proxy statement for shareholders was released. That is releasing the salaries of the top layer of executives over in WWE. Now, base salary, this is before any bonuses, any 401ks, any stock rewards, any of that shit. Just base salary, Vince McMahon was only at $1.4 million. I saw that a little bit on the low side, especially with WWE breaking record numbers this year as with profits.
Vince has always been a big reinvestor in his company and growing through it. So I mean, like you said, that's 1.4 million with no stock options. We haven't talked bonuses. I mean, the company owns a plane and he owns the company. So that's,
Well, yeah, that all just kind of ties in together. President and Chief Revenue Officer Nick Khan, his base salary $1.2 million.
That's Tony Khan's brother. He's getting the inside scoop.
It is kind of odd to have two Khans running the biggest wrestling companies in the world.
Running a carny companies.
Chief Brand Officer Stephanie McMahon, $730,000 base salary, and EVP, Executive Vice President, Global Talent Strategy and Development, Paul Levesque, Triple H, $730,000, same as Stephanie McMahon.
Oh, so they got a nice couple $1 million or $1 million something income at their household there, at the Levesque household.
Yeah, a little 1.4 million going on there between them two. But we're going to toss in some stock awards, some 401ks, Nick Khan's signing bonus, and the numbers are looking a little better here. Vince McMahon now sits at 3.9 million. Nick Khan got a $5 million sign-on bonus. So that put him at 13 million this year.
Times are tough. Times are tough. Boy, how are they going to get by?
Paul Levesque got a little bump, including his stock shit and whatever. He also got talent pay, and that put him at 2.3 million. And then Stephanie McMahon bringing up the tail end here with 2.2 million.
Aw. What are they going to do with themselves?
Only $4.5 million going into the Levesque house this year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll see him at the soup kitchen this Sunday.
Almost made my headphones fall off. Well, that was interesting. I wasn't even aware that was released. Eric's digging
Yeah, and
deep.
other than that, that's a wrap. And I got no other news.
That's the news. Bum, 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 bum. All right. Well, that is the news. And anything following the news would be a overrated, underrated. Real quick.
Yes. Let's roll it out.
Overrated, underrated managers.
Ooh, interesting.
We'll start with overrated, underrated Jimmy Hart.
Ooh. I think Jimmy Hart is overrated. To me, even as a kid growing up, he was just annoying to me. There was nothing special that any loudmouth manager couldn't do. He just happened to be with Hogan, right place, right time, I think with the right guys.
He was kind of like the down south version of Flavor Flav. He was just a loud hype man.
Yeah, so I don't know. I wasn't as big on Jimmy Hart as most people were, so I'd say overrated.
Overrated, underrated Bobby the Brain Heenan.
There's no way to overrate Bobby Heenan. They called him the brain for a reason. They called him the weasel for a reason. He was definitely the epitome of both, and he was a huge influence on heel managers, including Jim Cornette.
So you're going to give him, Bobby Heenan, a...
Underrated, definitely underrated.
I just wanted you to say it for the sound clip when I edit it all together later.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go overrated, underrated. Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman is... It's hard to say underrated because he is just so universally loved, but he's definitely not overrated.
You can go properly rated. I'll allow it.
I would say Paul Heyman is properly rated. He's right where he needs to be. A lot of people shit on him because he's kind of snaky, especially in his ECW dealings, but his influence on the popularity of wrestlers and his eye for wrestlers that Vince doesn't necessarily see as top talent has been proven over and over again. So Paul Heyman definitely properly rated.
Overrated, underrated, Miss Elizabeth.
Miss Elizabeth was definitely overrated. She was just a pretty face, and I don't think she had a love for the wrestling business. Pretty sure she was just being held hostage by Macho Man because he couldn't stand to have her out of his sight. So yeah, her presence, although I liked seeing it as a kid and I thought she was pretty and she was influential in the business as far as women managers, I think as a manager herself, she was overrated.
Overrated, underrated, Paul Bearer.
Paul Bearer, I would say, is properly rated also. Huge influence. Percy Pringle, as he was before, didn't really get insanely popular anywhere, but as Paul Bearer, as Undertaker's manager, as Kane's manager, and also as Mankind's manager, he brought out that personality, that voice, that creepiness that not many other managers could definitely bring out.
My Undertaker.
So I would say his praise is definitely well deserved.
Last one, because I usually only do 5, but we are doing managers. So overrated, underrated, Jim Cornette. This one we're gonna lob a softball right into Eric so he can knock it out of the park.
Jim Cornette is one of the most underrated managers. People do acknowledge his genius for the business, but they knock him down continuously for his hard-nosed attitude and take no shit from the wrestlers type mentality. He's been known here and there to slap a wrestler across the face if he does a hip toss wrong or something like that. But yeah, I think because of his controversial personality in the business and on the internet, people look at him with people look at him as lower on the manager spectrum than he definitely should be. He should be top 3 for sure.
Well, there you go. Overrated, underrated, managers edition. Now we're moving on to tear apart WrestleMania. WrestleMania. At night one, kicking us off with a big old stinky rain delay.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. First things first, though, it seems like Vince is trying to drop numbers off of WrestleManias. I just kind of heard through the grapevine that having numbers on them makes them sound old. So now from here on, they're supposedly just going to be calling WrestleMania.
I guess they don't call any other one by number, right? They don't call it SummerSlam 12. Just been SummerSlam. You do maybe refer to it by the year. SummerSlam 89 was, or SummerSlam 90, at Wembley Stadium, SummerSlam, but you just go SummerSlam. Makes sense. Vince is a strange duck. Read an interview from Stephanie McMahon that he hates sneezing by himself or anybody else because it's the only thing that cannot be controlled. So, I mean, he hates sneezing and he hates nodding in meetings. When somebody's talking and the other person's just nodding their head up and down because you're influencing the room. He thinks everybody should make their own judgments on the talk that's being led to them, and if by you nodding, you're influencing the person next to you. Well, they like it, yeah. Vince is a strange duck. He's worth $1 billion, so what do I know?
Hell, he knows a lot more than us, so yeah, I guess WrestleMania from here on out will just be called WrestleMania, not 37, 38, etc. And but this we're saying numbers, Brian. This was WrestleMania 37.
Well, it'll always have a number for me because it's always my age. WrestleMania goes on
youngin.
So I am 37. We're going on WrestleMania 37. So it's always I turn that year later in the year, but when WrestleMania goes out, so I'll still always call them by the numbers because I'll always know what they are.
All right, I'm starting a petition to move WrestleMania to August, and that'll throw off your whole
screw up my
everything
math.
You've built your life on,
and I'll give up. That's it. I don't know what WrestleMania is anymore. But this was our first one out of all the outdoor venues we've had. Back to what I threw out there. This is the first time we've been interrupted by weather.
Yeah, tore the WrestleMania flag on the pirate ship up. This was some pretty crazy weather we had going on here, and ended up delaying things for half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
And WWE's way of filling the gap was to throw around impromptu promos from wrestlers here and there. And considering that everybody has scripts and promos written for them these days by a team of writers, this didn't go as bad as I thought it would. They actually did pretty decent on their improvised promos here.
Yeah, that had to have been a stressful backstage area. That's all I could think of. That just had to be terribly stressful.
Kevin Owens definitely brought it home with his promo. And he's one who spent a lot of time with Cornette over in Ring of Honor. And I'm sure Cornette hit him a few times with a kendo stick to make sure he knew how to cut a proper promo. And he definitely did his job. But after our rain delay promos here, interesting choice from WWE to have the WWE Championship match between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre go on first.
I'm going to put on for one reason, and they are brand new to Peacock streaming. They are trying to suck in all the viewers possible that they can watch. They're trying to grab in old-time watchers. I remember watching wrestling. They're trying to grab in new watchers with wrestling, so they're putting their top stuff up first. It was having dessert before your dinner. They're going it out saying, this is what we got to offer you. Let's hook them in. And if they're watching that, you're probably going to start sit and finish the rest of the event.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy for people new to Peacock. This would definitely be a great match to draw them in.
Also, the main event was they were putting that to be the main event. Like, you know what I'm not saying that like they can rearrange it, but they built this to be the main event for the ladies. It was like night one could be ladies' main event instead of the mid card, or you know what I'm saying? They got to headline first night, and that
right. WWE was pretty much set on having Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks go on last for night one, and they wouldn't be able to follow Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, in my opinion. So you kind of had to, you either want to be first or you want to be last, and the girls definitely aren't going to want to follow this. So a couple good points there of why this ended up first on the card.
Yeah, that and just having the ladies headlining it is also going to draw people in to stick around and go, they're putting the ladies to headline it. You know, it's kind of another tease, another little hook in the water to go, well, what is this about? You know, these must be some bad bitches.
Witches be crazy. Now, a huge story in this match, which drove me absolutely bananas, was the cameraman, ADD, the people in the truck, the guys working the cameras. They are just going nuts. Between 500 cuts in every single match to when a performer is punching one another, Bobby Lashley punching Drew McIntyre, for example, the camera would zoom in and out really fast when punches were being thrown. Lance Storm commented on Twitter, I believe it was, that he couldn't watch the match because the camera cuts were literally making him sick to his stomach. They just kind of put me off on they're trying way too hard with these improvised camera cuts and zooms and whatnot.
It reminded me of The Biggest Loser back in like the early mid 2000s when they'd have those super obese people that would be on The Biggest Loser, and when they would like step off of the box while they were working out, the camera would be like like they were like Godzilla stepping. It was like they always overemphasize it, and then like the end of the season though they never did that, but that's what this reminded me of with these punches. Like you're supposed to feel the punches as the viewer getting pulled in and pushed out and moved around. It's probably a bit much. This is also the first live show in over a year as they, cram down our throats. 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day, I think, to be exact, since the fans were there.
So, yeah, they just went a little crazy on it. But as far as the match itself, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, they're both just beasts. They're both strong as oxes. And this match was a ton of back and forth, accenting both of these guys' strengths. To see Bobby Lashley pick up Drew McIntyre like he's nothing, like he's weightless, was kind of impressive. Bobby Lashley, again, in his mid-40s, and he can just pick up a 270-pound man and toss him around like nothing.
Yeah, these are two oxen in the ring ready to tear each other apart, and I just kind of sat back and enjoyed this match.
Yeah, for sure. You got some athleticism in here. Bobby Lashley getting Drew McIntyre hanging upside down on the turnbuckle. Drew McIntyre like doing one of them Rocky IV sit-ups and ending up flipping Bobby Lashley off the top rope. So these are, I mean, it's easy to say because this is a championship match, but these are probably the top two guys in the company right here. And just between strength and athleticism, you're not going to get much better than this. Drew McIntyre hit 3 future shocks in a row on Bobby Lashley and got a whopping 2 count. And I'm sure we've talked about this at length in plenty of podcasts, but finishers don't mean shit anymore if you're going up against another main eventer.
Yeah, the DDT especially, right? Like, I mean, that's basically the future shock.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and we did emphasize the DDT for sure. That used to be a devastating finishing move, and now you can give a motherfucker 3 of them, and he's just gonna get up and have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I knew when I saw that happen, I go, oh, I bet you Eric has something to say about this.
And spot of the match right here, Brian. I am so glad WWE chose to show this in slow-mo because I missed it the first time around. Drew McIntyre decides he's going to do a tope suicida on a Bobby Lashley. And as I saw it in real time, I'm like, well, that sucks. He pretty much missed MVP and Bobby Lashley and took a flat back bump. WWE chose to replay that in slow-mo. And as Drew McIntyre is sailing over the top rope, his dick piece gets caught on the top rope. You see his dick flop. And I'm blaming the bad landing on the dick flop. His dick slowed him down on the top rope, and he ended up missing Bobby Lashley and MVP and landing flat on his back on the outside.
Only Eric Todd would.
Now, granted, even though the guys are running around in panties, I'm not focusing on their meat pieces here, but this was definitely interesting to see the motherfucker get caught on the top rope, and he takes a bad bump afterwards. It's just too much of a coincidence.
Threw off his aerodynamicy. I don't even know if that's a word.
Yes. Back to the finishing moves that don't mean anything. McIntyre easily escapes 2 hurt locks from old Bobby Lashley, and then locks in a Kimura. And this is where we're hitting the crescendo of the match here, just back and forth of submissions, finishing moves. MVP yells at Drew McIntyre, which distracts him enough to miss a Claymore, and then that's a wrap. Bobby Lashley ends up getting the hurt lock in. Drew tries to roll out of it, but Lashley just locks it in deeper. Drew McIntyre passes out so that he can still stay relevant, and he didn't tap out to the hurt lock, and Lashley retains his title.
What was with the yelling thing? Why does that need to be a part of the finish? Like, MVP screams.
Exactly.
For one, you couldn't hear it on the TV, right? It seemed confusing to me, like they kind of botched something is what I was trying to figure out what happened. The second thing is so like if I can't hear it, I don't know what's going on. So you lost all the TV viewers, but also the people in the arena, the 50,000 or 25,000, whatever they had in there. They didn't hear them. And then they don't even get commentary for replays to show to reiterate the story to say, oh, MVP yelled and threw off Drew McIntyre. And you're going, that was pretty weak sauce. They could have just had him go for the Claymore, miss it, and get caught in the hurt lock and call it a day. The yelling thing was a little whack.
At the end of the day, it was just lazy booking. They wanted as many reasons as possible to keep Drew McIntyre over. So now they can blame the missed Claymore on MVP because if Drew just missed a Claymore willy-nilly, it might make him look like shit. So you got MVP blamed for the loss. You got Drew passing out, not tapping out. And I think that's their way for trying to keep people behind Drew so that they can keep this story rolling.
I get that part of the story of what they're trying to do. It was just very badly done. MVP standing on the outside of the ring with a goddamn cane. It's got to be Kane. Why didn't he try to hook his leg with it but not trip him and have him, easily, like he's just trying to, there's about 100 things we could have done better. That was pretty lazy for WrestleMania. 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day from live viewers in the audience at Raymond James Stadium. Here we are, and then we finish out the championship match with, hey, your shoe's untied.
Hey, Drew.
Hey, Drew, you dropped your pocket. Your sock's untied, Drew. Nanner. Stupid fucking junior high horse shit. I thought that was dumb. That one part left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it was a great match with a shitty finish. That's if you want to wrap it up in one sentence,
That's
there
it.
it is.
That's it. Well, do you have anything else on this match?
No, that's it. I'm ready to go backstage to see Hogan and Titus hanging out with the rest of the NWO.
Oh, yes. I forgot about these backstage segments. Go ahead. Lead me through this here.
All right. So we got the NWO hanging out, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, X-Pac, as well as the two hosts of WrestleMania this year, Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan. Bailey was, I don't know what her role was this weekend. I know they just wanted to get her on TV and they wanted to make her look like an annoying heel, but they just basically shat on her the entire weekend.
What kind of haircut does she have?
Oh, she's definitely got a Karen haircut. She wants to speak to every manager up in that bitch.
So who was she all weekend? She was Karen. It clicked like she was a Karen by night 2. I was like, she's trying to be a Karen. Like that's she was just an annoying. Like if that's not what they were going for, that's what I got. That's what I picked up. She was a Karen. Like they were going for that internet meme. That's what I saw. But it was annoying. It worked.
Yeah, she annoyed the piss out of me for sure. But yeah, she was plugging her show that she's doing, and Hogan and Kevin Nash ended up blowing her off when she's going for 2 sweets with the NWO. X-Pac ends up giving her one and kind of kissing her ass in the process, saying that he's legitimately a big fan of hers. That whatever, X-Pac, do your thing, try and smash. You know, she's newly single and whatnot. I don't know, but I save that shit for off air. This is supposed to be a segment where we're blowing Bailey off.
Yeah, it almost looked like the NWO.
Just, hey, I'm a big fan.
It almost looked like the NWO or X-Pac there didn't show up to rehearsals for that part.
Yeah, they just kind of went through it. Scott Hall, Santa Claus Hall there, man, all white, everything. He reluctantly gives Bailey a 2 sweet, and I just thought it would have been better if they all snubbed her.
Agreed. I thought it was weird that X-Pac, like, he was just kind of went into business for himself. He's like, well, maybe I can get on her show or she'll come on my podcast or something. Like, all his, dealings outside of WWE. But, it's a backstage segment at WrestleMania. They're not magical by any means. The host stuff is fucking so played out and boring to me. I don't even get, like, they show up like 3 times out of 6 hours.
Yeah, and it actually gets the dynamic between Titus O'Neil and Hogan gets more interesting in night 2, but we'll save that for a little bit later. We're moving on to the tag team turmoil match where we got a bunch of women's tag teams fighting it out here, and the winner gets to face Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the women's tag team championships on night 2. Be honest with you, Brian, WWE showed a commercial for WWE NFTs, non-fungible tokens for Undertaker shit, and I spent this entire match just trying to figure out what the fucking NFT was.
Yeah, this match was pretty whack and pretty lame. So an NFT is art that can be sold on the blockchain.
And that's what I ended up coming up with, but I can't figure out what WWE has to do with shit. I guess they had like a GIF of Undertaker, and you can own it on a blockchain.
Right. You own the rights. It's just like owning actual physical things. It's just a way to show that you own the piece of digital art. It sounds weird right now, but I'm gonna put a bet in a couple years it'll make more sense. But it's very out there right now, just like Bitcoin and all that jazz several years ago. But nonetheless, that's what it is. It's a way to validate your digital art.
All right.
We could validate our podcast, and people can have the original recordings. It's like having original pressings of records instead of copies. That's all it is.
Well, we'll see how that works out in the future. It could be like a Dogecoin. Who knows? But Natalya and Tamina end up winning the tag team turmoil match, and we will get to see them on night 2 taking on the tag team champions.
Yep. perfect. We spent the perfect amount of time on that match.
Yes. Now we actually move on to one of the better matches of the night, Cesaro versus Seth Rollins.
Now, I'm always looking forward to Seth Rollins at WrestleMania because he comes out with always some fresh gear.
Yeah, Seth Rollins is always looking tight. He's always looking snazzy. And I was looking forward to watching Cesaro. Again, been a big fan since he was Claudio hanging out with Chris Hero back in the indie days. And I knew this was going to be a good match, especially once that bell rang and Cesaro hit Seth with one of them European uppercuts just right off the get-go.
Yeah, these two, you just knew you're in for a show. Seth is a great athlete and performer. He's a great performer. Let's say it this way. Seth is a great performer and a great athlete, and Cesaro is a stupendous athlete and a good performer.
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit it on the nose right there. I haven't been a huge Seth Rollins fan, and once he was out of the spotlight for a while, I kind of just lost track of him. But this definitely brought him back to the forefront as one of the best performers in WWE. Rollins rolling a superplex right into a Falcon Arrow, just a 1-2 punch there. That was pretty sick for sure. Cesaro's striking abilities are on point as always.
Rollins jumping, twisting frog splash was an amazing spot. That was pretty cool. It does nothing for the splash itself. I get it. Like twisting in the air doesn't really do anything. The frog splash itself, like, doing this move between your knees or your thighs doesn't make the move any more intense. To me, what it shows is the height you've got and what you can do in the air while falling. Like, hey, look how high I'm going to jump in the air and land on this guy while I'm falling. Let me do a half gainer with a tuck in between, and then I'll crash on this poor bastard.
Yeah, for sure. Rollins was definitely impressive with the corkscrew splashes there. Cesaro, if we're going to do signature move, overrated, underrated, I think the swings are definitely overrated here. Cesaro goes to town on them swings.
I say the swings are just overplayed. I don't even know if I'll overrate them. Just overplayed. They're just kind of, you just played out for me.
My son walks in on Cesaro swinging Seth here like 30 times or whatever. Oh, 23 times. I'm sorry. And he's like, am I watching a cartoon? What's going on here? And I'm like, whatever. It's his thing. But Seth, did you see this forearm that Seth Rollins gave Cesaro to the back of his head?
Oh, my God. And then they played it in slow-mo replay afterwards. And, like, it looked like something from a crash test dummy. It looked like if somebody turns, like, a leaf blower on your face and brrr, like the way the skin moved and he got hit. That was bad. That looked legit.
There was no fake in that. Cesaro, how he didn't get whiplash or some CTE or a concussion or something from that blow to the back of his head, and why WWE would emphasize that and accentuate such a blow to the back of somebody's head and neck, that was pretty sick. That was pretty brutal.
We're talking MMA, which your job is to punch people and kick people in the face. They don't allow you to do that to the back of somebody's head. But we're talking here in predetermined wrestling. Catching a hot one to the spine piece.
Yeah, where the art form is making it look like you're hurting somebody without hurting somebody, and just throwing a full-fledged forearm to the back of somebody's neck.
That was rough.
Definitely a good way to take somebody out of rotation there.
100%.
Cesaro ends up hitting that no hands UFO thing, which, as far as spinny moves, I think that's pretty dope. Cesaro hits the no hands UFO, spins Rollins 23 times, hits the neutralizer for effect there, and then we get the 1, 2, 3. Cesaro, probably the biggest win in his career, I'd say.
100%. And I was happy to see it. Nothing happens to Seth for losing. If anything, Seth gets more from losing. Because he's a guy that can go out and pull that, I've spoke about it before, that Scott Hall move where you can lose and then go out and say, I didn't lose. And then everybody's, boo, yes, you did. Especially as a heel, you can go out and just go, no, I won. No, you lost. No, I won. I'm fine. I'm still better than him. I'm the god of wrestling. I'm the Messiah of Monday nights or the whatever he is on Friday nights. I think he gets everything from that, and Cesaro picks up so much more from winning. So I think it's just good on both sides of it. Nobody got buried. Nobody got lost. It's 100% helps everybody in this, and maybe Cesaro can get the push.
Yeah, and just think, wasn't too far that long ago that Cesaro was kind of back and forth on whether or not he was going to sign another contract with WWE. I'm pretty sure he's confident that he made the right decision now.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully he sticks around and gets to show off a little more because he's always impressive, pound for pound, 100%.
Now, on to I think this is a Raw Tag Team Championship right here. We've got New Day, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods taking on AJ Styles and Omos or Omos, or not even the WWE can decide how they want to pronounce this guy's name.
And let's not forget, Big E came out to join his brothers in the New Day, and got to introduce them and hang out there with them for a little bit because he's moved to Friday nights, so the New Day, the threesome, is not one anymore. But yes, we had Big E come out with the New Day and do the big introduction at WrestleMania, which was 100% cool in my book.
Oh yeah, for sure. Big E definitely with a big personality there, and I think he doesn't get the spotlight on him enough to really have time to put his personality into things. Most of the time when Big E's on the TV screen, they're just putting him out there to wrestle and dominate and move on.
I thought that you look at it through pro wrestling booking eyes. I go, oh, they reunited the New Day. They're making a deal of the New Day, and Big E's there doing the introduction. I was waiting for a heel turn on Big E. Even though they're on separate shows, but to really twist in the fact that he's trying to be a heel or something, that he's going to turn on his buddies. But that didn't happen. But nonetheless, we'll move on and chat through this match here.
Right. AJ Styles and Kofi Kingston start this thing off, and then we get lots of counters and reversals going on with each other, arm locks, things of that nature. And I thought that was a good way to start the match. Two really good wrestlers in an era of bullshit. We kind of get two of the top guys out there putting on a wrestling match to begin. Then we get a little goofiness with Xavier Woods breaking down the fourth wall, doing some commentary. As I'm typing, Woods and Kofi are doing a good job as a tag team cutting the ring in half. Xavier Woods commentates to the audience, to the cameras, "We are effectively cutting the ring in half."
Oh, I just had to jump over and just stole it. He was reading your notes. He had a live shot. He was tapped in. He was watching you.
And yeah, I think the whole show was looking at me through my camera here, because I also wrote, New Day is doing textbook teamwork. And as I wrote that, Michael Cole was like, textbook teamwork from Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston.
Son of
I
a
hate
bitch.
Michael Cole. That son of a bitch, stealing my notes.
Stealing my notes. This match had, I don't know. I didn't care about it because I don't find AJ and Omos a tag team. It seemed like a slap together thing, so I don't. Those slap together fly by night tag teams, never cared for. I hate when they just slap a couple guys together and you're a tag team. We don't have anything to do with you. And they got this Omos guy in there. I don't think he can really move. He's just a big guy, and it doesn't go over well. He's not. I don't know. I didn't care about it, and I didn't see this match going the way that it went.
I think that's a really good point. So we had the right ingredients here. I like sugar. I like icing. I like flour. I like eggs. But I didn't like the cake that it made. Maybe Omas here was the wrong kind of icing or whatever.
Past his expiration date.
And So I kind of watched this in individual parts, critiquing again New Day's teamwork and their work as a tag team, which they're exceptional at. AJ is phenomenal.
All puns
Not,
intended.
yes, all puns intended. And but what really surprised me here is Kofi is experienced, AJ is experienced, and Xavier Woods is experienced. But at one point in this match, we got Xavier Woods with, I believe he has AJ Styles in a headlock, dragging him close to his corner, close to Omos, but just out of reach for Omos to make that tag. But as you're looking at it, does it, with the untrained eye, with the trained eye of Ray Charles could have seen this shit. Omos was standing straight up with his arm just perfectly level, and he was about 6 inches away from tagging AJ Styles.
So if you're saying he would have leaned over and hinged at his hips.
If he would have leaned over just a smidge, he would have been able to get the tag. But I think that was a fuck up on Xavier Woods' part there, because it wasn't time for Omos to tag in. So he had to stand there like a fucking mannequin and act like he was out of reach for a tag.
Yeah. I also blame Omos for not being good at acting.
Yeah.
Like I saw an interview with this is kind of off topic, but I saw this interview with Penn Jillette, and he talked about how you can always pick a mark out of his like a plant out of a magic show, and he goes, if they get called up on stage and they go up the steps one at a time for the 3, 4, 5 steps to get on a stage, they're plants, because nobody goes upstairs like that. They just will skip up some steps. They'll just go doop 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 doop, and they're right up the steps. He goes, plants will be like, this is how you go upstairs, and like that's what the tag reminded me of. Like, I will stand here and hold the tag rope, and then I reach my hand, and I cannot reach you. Like, you're gonna lean over and put your energy into it, and so what? You get the tag there. The ref can call a no tag. The ref doesn't see it. You know what I'm saying? You can get through it. The refs are involved in this thing, so just push through it and make this shit look real, man. Figure it out.
Yeah, improvise, you fucks. And
Improvise, you fucks.
And Omos just sucks, man. I understand he's a rookie, but he finally gets that hot tag from AJ Styles and just enters the ring at like 1988 Andre the Giant, and just so slow. And his claim to fame in this match is just no selling. It's like, okay, we get it, you're big, but that's basically all he did in this match was no sell before he finally hit a spine buster on Kofi Kingston and gets the pin.
Gets the easiest job, no sell. Hey, no sell these fake punches. All right, cool.
Sweet. Rookie of the year right there, Omos.
I get to do it. I didn't see them winning. I just, yeah, what are you going to do, man? This was kind of a stinkeroonie in the middle of this here. I do like AJ. I don't mind the New Day. They're goofy and funny, and they are, Kofi Kingston's and even Xavier Woods, very athletic and entertaining and everything that goes with wrestling. But Omos came in, and they just didn't know what to do. You're telling me these two pro wrestlers couldn't chop down Omos? Clearly no rules really apply, so you can just kind of do. They couldn't have quick tagged this guy and chopped him down. Get out of here.
Fuck out of here.
Fuck out of here. That was that. We got any backstage segments, or are we moving on to the next match?
Next on my list here is Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman
Yeah.
in a steel cage match, and we get like a half an hour segment of a recap of the feud between Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. And I just cringe every time I see Braun Strowman whining and bitching as a 6'8", 350-pound man about the 51-year-old billionaire son bullying him. Poor baby. Poor giant.
Called me dumb.
He called me stupid.
Yeah, it was long enough played out that hopefully this was the end of the this was the blow off. And this was the done. We're going to move on. So I'm not sure if it's going to be, but Man, do I hope so.
Yeah, I imagine this is going to be a wrap on this, and Jerry Lawler ends up joining us on the commentary team for this match. Not really sure what the significance of that was, but Jerry Lawler looks good for his age.
Probably have the king on so many commentaries per year that they got to get him in on and throw him in, get him on TV. He demands it. What did you think of this as a cage match? And, did they use the cage properly? Was the gimmick worth it?
I thought this was a pretty decent cage match, and most of the praise goes to Shane McMahon. He's a hell of a heel, followed right in his daddy's footsteps for not being a top performer. Now, granted, Shane can do some shit, but he's not definitely a top performer, but he can be a hell of a heel. Choosing the chicken shit route, this one, holding the cage door shut so Braun Strowman can't get in, and also so his lackeys Riker and Elias can come attack Braun Strowman with chairs to give Shane a head start.
Not only is Shane a good heel, he's a good heel who will take an ass whooping.
Oh, yeah, so for sure. He is willing to get dirty.
He'll jump, dive, flip, flop over anything, and it's like, my God. So there were some cool spots in this. I thought it was going to go another way, a different way towards the end of it. Yeah, I thought we were going to see Shane McMahon pull out the W, but we will continue talking through this. Where were you at watching this? What did you think was going to happen?
I thought for sure Braun Strowman was going to win because I just saw this being the end of the feud, and that would be the only logical way to end the feud because Shane McMahon's not going to continue on and be a week-to-week performer.
I thought that too. I was with you, but watching this, when they do that cage, when they're on, not when he throws, when he throws Shane off the cage from the top of it there to into the ring, like that was right. That was pretty goddamn cool. You can clearly see Shane just jump and do the flip where Braun really didn't do much to throw him, but nonetheless, you got to see a man jump off the top of a cage and do a flat back from 15 feet up or whatever it is. It's pretty impressive.
That's probably bump of the night right there because it was done perfectly. Like you said, you could see Braun Strowman really didn't do shit for it. Just let Shane be in total control. Shane got his shit in. He got his coast-to-coast drop kick in. And as always, Shane's strikes are always on point, man. His little boxing moves that he likes to get in.
And then there was a spot where Shane is climbing over top of the cage, and he's starting to shimmy down, and he taunts Braun, and then Braun comes up and grabs him through the cage, and then tears the cage and rips the cage down. This is where I thought we would see. This is when I thought I might be wrong, and this is how Shane wins. Because I saw Shane, in my head, willing to take a bump, even if it was onto Elias and the Riker guy, through that, getting tossed by Braun out of that hole in the cage to win, right? Now there's a hole in the cage. Boom, you see Braun, toss him or push him through it and throw him out of the ring, and then, taking a Shane spot and winning at the same time.
I definitely saw that as a possibility.
And especially with all the stupid stuff or him calling him dumb or whatever he was calling him, I saw that carrying over to, Friday night where he's going to go, "You're so dumb, you tore a hole in there and threw me out and I won. You're an idiot." And they could continue on with this for another month.
If they wanted this feud to continue, that would have been the way to do it for sure. Right before that spot there, right before Braun Strowman rips the cage open, Shane is on top of the cage, and the maintenance men just leave white buckets with toolboxes and assorted instruments just hanging from the rafters there. So Shane ends up whacking old Strowman in the head with a toolbox that's just in a Home Depot bucket, swinging around from the rafters. And I just thought, we just can't have a decent match. There's got to be bullshit sprinkled into every match.
Always got to have some bullshit in there. Come on now. Got to have the bullshit.
We got our Shane being pulled through the cage spot, and looked like Shane took a little fencing to the face there. Shane's flat back bump into the middle of the ring Strowman hits the running power slam as an exclamation point, and Braun Strowman puts the finishing touches on this feud, ends up with the W.
It ends appropriately in my head that, so you got to see some cool stuff. You got to see Braun Strowman show his power. You got to show the craziness of Shane, and hopefully we move on to something more entertaining along the road.
Yeah, but it definitely wasn't the next thing, unless you really wanted to see Miz and Morrison rap, or if you wanted to see, they perform a whole ass rap song on the way to their ring, and get to see about 25 bootleg ass Easter bunnies missing ears and their outfits not fitting properly.
Literal
And
bad bunnies.
yes, those were some terrible bunnies, I would say. I would be so inclined.
Yeah. I know they always squeeze in, since WrestleMania 1, a celebrity spot. It just happens. It's just it's in the DNA of WrestleMania from the first one to 37. But I get it. Bad Bunny grew up a fan, but just because you didn't mean they should have put him in this. Like I grew up a fan too.
So you take Pat McAfee, a lifelong fan who did some wrestling training and came in to his first match was NXT, wasn't it?
Yeah, but also a high-level NFL athlete at one point in his career, right?
Good point. But I guess you're saying you take your last two big fans who did proper training and decided to come in on a big match. Pat McAfee compared to Bad Bunny, McAfee is light years ahead of Bunny here. Bunny did okay in this match, but all the praise he was receiving from everyone saying how amazing he did in this match, I think was not well deserved at all.
Would you say it's overrated?
Yeah, definitely overrated, especially when you compare it to McAfee. Again, McAfee, NFL athlete, top of the line athlete for years and years before training for wrestling, compared to Bunny just being a rapper. But people praised Bunny and fluffed his ball so much for this match. And just to any layman, any fucking mark, you could see that all Bad Bunny was doing in this match. And thank God he had Miz in there to guide him through this. Bunny was just doing like the most basic first week wrestling school moves: wrist lock, hip toss,
Waist lock,
drop toe hold, waist lock. Yeah. And after he does these moves, Brian, he gets super cocky and not character cocky. He wasn't just being he's a babyface, but he wasn't just being a cocky wrestler. He was
feeling himself,
genuinely feeling himself, internally celebrating that he did a drop toe hold and a waist lock, and
I think the best thing though that they did is they kept it simple for him, because that way he wasn't in over his head, and then it minimized the holes in the sinking ship.
They well said, Brian. They assigned moves that they knew he could handle, but the shit doesn't belong in WrestleMania.
This could have been this to me shouldn't have been. I mean, this is the piss break before your main event.
Right.
This
was
is
definitely a piss break match.
I get that they gave it a lull spot, that it's okay they bring the house down a little bit, but this was pre-show.
Yeah, and you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't in this situation, because if you're going to have Bad Bunny on a show as popular as he is, I had no idea of his popularity until I was forced to Google him at some point.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have Bad Bunny on a WWE show, as popular as he is, it kind of has to be WrestleMania.
Well, if you're taking it on a popularity, then yeah, for what he brought in and the amount of T-shirts that he sold, I guess he earned a spot. And if you want to take it as a wrestling fan, pre-show it. But you're trying to draw in your mainstream people that wouldn't normally watch. It was like when they brought Floyd Mayweather in, to fight the Big Show.
Right.
You're just trying to draw eyeballs onto this, and hopefully get them hooked.
So definitely, it was just very apparent WWE chose popularity and bringing in the mainstream fans of mainstream pop culture, and rather than having a quality match. And all praises to Miz, Morrison, and Damian Priest here for working around this fucking rookie and making things look the best they could. And I don't know, this Canadian Destroyer that Bad Bunny did on Morrison here just didn't sit right with me. It was almost,
I mean, that's a move that you hand to somebody and say, come do this. It's like not Rookie of the Year, The Sandlot. Go out here and put your glove in the air. I'll do the rest. And
precisely.
What's his name hits the home run to Smalls, and it's to catch him out. And this is the same idea where Morrison's going, all right, I'm gonna do this. You stand over top of me. I'll do the rest. You get the praise. I look like I got beat up.
It was just incredibly obvious, I guess, would be, because you see how clunky Bad Bunny was with a drop toe hold or a waist lock, but he does this Canadian Destroyer and KayFabe. In KayFabe, Bad Bunny's doing all the work, and this was the smoothest, most flawless Canadian Destroyer I've ever seen. And to anyone who's been watching wrestling for any amount of time, it was just incredibly obvious that Morrison was the one who did the move, and that just, it didn't sit right with me at all. They should have left that on the cutting room floor.
I can't disagree. I thought they should have had more Damian Priest and had Bad Bunny come in for some quick spots and do the celebrity thing, but he wanted to get in there and actually do the wrestling thing. So I can commend him for that, but, when Miz went to throw him out of the ring at one point, and he, botched that. He, went right into the bottom or the middle rope, and it just looked like, it was like, ugh. That didn't look right. You knew that wasn't the spot it was supposed to be. It looked devastating nonetheless because it looked like it hurt, because it probably did. But he was really just trying to get rolled out of the ring, probably to catch his breath, and the poor bastard went into the ropes and kind of got flopped around. So, nonetheless, they got through it, Eric. They took 15 minutes.
They got through it.
It took 15 minutes.
They gave 15 minutes to this abomination. And if I got to praise Bunny on anything, it's his selling. He sold like a madman. I don't know if Miz was actually hitting him, because if I was a professional and I was stuck in that ring with that goof, I'd probably hit him for real too.
I bet you there
another
was some,
highlight.
I bet you there's some stiff shots in there.
Probably here and there. Morrison doing a spin of Rooney right in Booker T's face. That was kind of brought a chuckle to my gut there.
That's where I thought that Booker T was going to get involved and then get involved and help the win go over the other, for Bad Bunny and such, but he did not.
No. We see Stereo. Isn't Stereo an AEW thing? Because it's like Stereo super kicks, Stereo suicidas, Stereo hip locks.
They blew it up a couple weeks ago. We even named a podcast in Stereo.
So WWE jumps in the mix, and we get Stereo suplexes from Bad Bunny and Damian Priest here. And again, clunky pieces of shit, but whatever.
It happens.
Do what you do.
Yeah. And somewhere along the lines here, we get a pin coming up, right? Because
yeah, this is where a Canadian Destroyer came in on John Morrison here.
Oh, okay.
And then Bunny and Priest team up for Priest holding, I think it was Morrison in the air. Bunny does a crossbody off the top rope, and there you go, the winners of this match, Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. And this was a one and done for him. We saw a little promo from Triple H and him, and he tells Bunny to skedaddle and go do your tour and hop right back on your Mack truck that you rolled in on. And
he doesn't get to ride inside, though. He gets to ride on the roof.
right. He rides everywhere on the roof like Mad Max.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. It works out for WWE. He brought eyeballs on. I had no clue. Call me old. And also, it works out on Bad Bunny's end, is now people that, such as I, that never knew much of this Bad Bunny fella, now saw that he's on tour, and now saw his tour dates, and maybe give a damn. I don't, but nonetheless, somebody might.
I say fans like you and I, not necessarily you and I don't think we will be chomping at the bit to be at a Bad Bunny 2022 concert.
Probably not, unless it's the right price, but I highly doubt that as well.
Now, I don't know if I missed anything backstage after this, because I was kind of done with this pay-per-view.
They gave a long promo recap into this Sasha Banks
all right,
Bianca Belair match. So
on my particular device, fast forwarding on Peacock doesn't show you a small screen of what's going on. It just gives you a timestamp. So I fast forwarded, and when I press play, Sasha Banks was doing her entrance. So in my mind, that was just perfect. All right, let's get right to this match.
Yep, that was all it was. You got a good, over dramatized recap of their feud because, again, new eyeballs, new service. We have to put up with that as fans for a little bit. So be ready for that, WWE wrestling fans. It's going to be a little bit more heavy on the vignettes because they're trying to explain the storyline to new eyeballs. Both these girls put on some crazy good entrances. I was, they put on their entertainment hats and they came out and entertained for their entrances. They weren't overdone. They were just properly done. And I thought they took their time and did it right.
I agree on that. Entrances were fantastic. And this match did exactly what it was meant to do. What this match was meant to do was to get Bianca Belair even more over than she already is. And they accentuated that with strength spots, athleticism spots. They took what Belair was good at and they just tuned it up to the point to where she's fucking gorilla pressing she's gorilla pressing Sasha Banks and walking up the 500-pound ring steps to toss her ass back in the ring.
Yeah, man. I thought both the ladies looked good. We get into the very beginning of the match when they're doing the intros and the in-ring match, or the in-ring introductions, and you can see Bianca Belair tearing up and getting emotional with it. And I didn't see that. Talking to our friend Jake, he saw that as a giveaway of what was going to happen, that Bianca Belair was going to take the strap. I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as a girl that came up through the system, through NXT. Here she is, first WrestleMania, and she's in front of the house. There's people back again. And she's headlining it, right? There's a lot of emotion there as it is. So I didn't see it as a giveaway, but Jake stated that. I didn't know if you felt anything while watching those introductions and the emotions in there. It didn't look to me that way, though.
No, I don't think it really gave anything away. I'm agreeing with you on this one. It was just a girl who's came up through the system, and this is her lifelong dream, and she's reached the apex of her career. She's in the main event WrestleMania match against the SmackDown Women's Champion. And this is just the peak, her peak so far of where she's been. So yeah, it's an emotional moment, and a girl's gonna shed a tear or two.
Yeah, man. So that was cool to see, though. It put some realism into it, so I enjoyed that. I did enjoy, not the fact that she was I didn't enjoy she's crying or something. It sounded like a psychopath, but I enjoyed the fact that it just showed real human emotion mixed into this, and it wasn't all show, right? There's something real there in their energy. And then I thought these girls again, I'm not always the biggest fan of women's wrestling, just for whatever reasons, but these ladies wrestled.
Yeah. You kind of were able to. I'm guilty of this for the most part. A lot of the times when a women's wrestling match comes on, and I'm like, yeah, it was just a fucking girls match, fake punches, the lightest bumps you'll ever see, fake, just everything looking fake and choreographed. Whereas this was just a straight up wrestling match, and like I said before, everything that needed to be done in this match was done. Bianca came off as extremely athletic. She came off as extremely strong. As her gimmick states, the EST. She's the fastest, strongest, bestest, women's wrestler.
Established.
And Bianca and Sasha Banks pumped up her heel status. And the best way to increase your heel status in this match, particularly with Bianca Belair, is to use that long ass braid and pull her hair and use it as a weapon against her. And Sasha took every opportunity she could, even using that braid in a submission move to yank Bianca's arm back and then turning it into a bank statement.
Yeah, she did everything they could, and I mean, you have that hair, so you got to use it. I also thought that Sasha didn't come off bad or weak at any point by putting over, at the end of the day, Bianca Belair. I thought she's still coming out, smelling like roses. So I think, again, it was done properly, that it wasn't like, well, she lost, we'll see Bianca, Sasha Banks is taking 6 weeks off. Like, sometimes when you can see a loss, you go, well, we'll see in a while. This is a comeback and challenge on Friday night. Tomorrow night they could see it. I want a rematch, and you can buy it and believe it and roll with it. So I was pretty impressed and happy with the whole thing from top to bottom. This match was good. And then that whip at the end of the match, towards the end here, when she whips Sasha Banks with that hairpiece and you can hear it snap, that was pretty impressive. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I rewound that and actually watched that a couple times, and I was like, they couldn't have added that sound effect in there. This was live. This was in front of 25,000 people. That was just a real coincidental whip crack to her hair, and it was just perfect.
And then you can see after the match, when Sasha's sitting on the ground outside the ring, you can see on her rib cage the nice welt from that hairpiece.
Yeah, so that worked out perfectly. That was a good exclamation point on this, right before Bianca put on that kiss of death, ends up becoming the new SmackDown Women's Champion here. And that was a wrap on that. And
now we know that they knew, we know that she knew she was going to win before they went out. We know that, wrestling fans know that. But we don't know who's going to win. Did you see her dad jumping when she won? Did you notice?
No, I didn't notice.
If you go back and rewatch, do you see this guy start jumping and then he puts his foot on the barricade like he's going to go over and security pushes him back? That was her dad. It's almost like she didn't fill the old man in on what was going to happen. Hey, Dad, I'm in the main event. I can't tell you, Dad. You have to watch it because that was true, legit emotion. Like that her old man was about ready to jump in the ring. And she just was so overwhelmed with emotion, she didn't know what to do. Like, she didn't know where the camera was at. You could see her saying, like just trying to get her mind right. Like, am I looking at the camera? Is the camera on this side? She's just holding that thing in the air and spinning in circles. Like, she didn't even run to her family. Like, everybody else usually, there's videos of Eddie Guerrero and such that have gone famous. They go out to the families and they're hugging and standing in the crowd. Johnny Gargano did it at a takeover a couple years ago. And she didn't even get to that. Like, she just stood in the ring, in shock. Like, she didn't even know she was going to win either. Like, all of a sudden, Sasha called an audible and said, "This one's for you, kid." And lay down and give you the strap here at WrestleMania.
No, if Belair withheld that information from her dad, that was absolutely the best thing she could have did. that I'm sure that old man that was one of the best moments of his life right there, watching his daughter win this championship.
It was good.
And again, we break down the fourth wall a little bit. Sasha Banks is supposed to be a heel. She just lost her championship to Bianca Belair, and there's pictures all over the internet now of directly after this match, Sasha Banks leaning against the ring apron, just smiling her ass off at how happy she was for Bianca.
And looking at this in pro wrestling promoter eyes, you can easily twist that into a story of her with the "that'll never happen again." I watched you after that, and I just smiled like, you got me. But, you can make up a story and run with that, whether it's real or not, right? You can twist it into her just being a bitch.
Right. Yeah, so that was it. That was our main event for night one. And, yeah, we can roll right into WrestleMania night two if you're good.
Let's go. Randy Orton and The Fiend with Alexa Bliss open up the show.
I ain't letting you jump that far ahead.
Whoa. Hit the rewind. Are we on Peacock? Do we have rewind?
Hit the rewind. We're going to Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil coming out in fucking pirate costumes, Brian Rampa.
Yeah, this was bad.
And this was cringy. This was terrible. And I don't know. Hulk Hogan's a piece of shit. But I almost felt bad for him at this point, because every time the huckster opened his mouth, 25,000 people booed the shit out of him.
Yeah, I saw some video that went on viral. I don't know viral, but it was pretty popular around Instagram and TikTok of people from the show. And like every time Hogan talks, and it was just like people just booing. And then, but you can like on the through Peacock, you didn't quite catch all of that, and you heard some more cheering, but it definitely was like a mixed reaction. But some of this live stuff that I saw going around from people's social media pages was like, woo, Hulk caught a hot one.
Yeah, I think maybe WWE tried to fix that audio the best they could, but you could tell a ton of people were booing Hogan. And in contrast, Titus O'Neil could have announced that the earth is flat, and the crowd would have cheered the shit out of him. Yeah, so that was just a perfect contrast there. And their outfits were goofy as fuck. And that was just a shit show way to start night two. And we keep the shit show rolling by this next match that with RKO versus Fiendy Kruger, as I like to call him here. Bray Wyatt all burnt up and melted and whatnot with his little pal Alexa Bliss.
He's not melted anymore. He went through the magical laser rays inside his Jack-in-the-Box and became normal again. Duh. Did you see it?
Well, yeah, as he was going through his whatever his little funhouse tour there, he transforms back into the normal Fiend, and the lights go out. We hear Firefly Funhouse music. Alexa Bliss comes down, and there's a giant Jack-in-the-Box next to the ring, and Fiend slowly rises from the box. And this is about as goofy as shit can get right here. But they cut off the goofiness. Fiend jumps Orton right off the get, and the red light is back, Brian.
The red light was back. TLC was playing in the background. You can have your red light special. I was 100% solid that this is Bray Wyatt's big return after he got burnt up. This was red lights. This was everything in the favor of Bray Wyatt, and the Fiend. And didn't quite go that way. I was very surprised by that. I was very happy that it wasn't a cinematic match.
Yes.
That they kept it. It was a match. It was just a Bray Wyatt Fiend match. And it was super short, only 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes. And I didn't quite understand. I'm not going to throw an internet wrestling community-style temper tantrum that it ended in a way that I don't understand where they're going. I guess I'll just hang out and let it happen. I don't care enough to get super mad about it. So many people are like, "Why'd they do that? It doesn't make any sense." Well, Vince has told some good stories in his career. Let's see if he can do something with this. The match itself was very loosely a match.
Right. And my take on this match will probably be longer than the match itself, to be honest. Because I did some digging on this. Throughout this match, Bray Wyatt, you can tell he's back. He right down to the neck break on Randy Orton here, and Randy Orton selling the shit out of it. And Fiend no selling everything. No sells the table slam. Anything Randy hits him with, he's no selling. Michael Cole, fucking commentator of the year right here. Don't don't mention the box on the outside of the ring or the jack in the box. Fiend is driven into that box-like structure at ringside. A box-like structure, Brian. In my world, I just call that a fucking box.
A box-like structure. I'm going to be honest with you, I missed that one.
Bray Wyatt finally sells Randy Orton's signature second rope DDT there. Counters an RKO into the claw, goes ahead and gets set up for that Sister Abigail. And then we get the Cane Flames coming from the corners of the ring. Alexa Bliss rises from the jack in the box. She's wearing a crown of thorns, and she is bleeding from her head where the corns are where the thorns are resting the corns. And this is enough to distract Bray Wyatt. He's confused. RKO hits a singularity RKO. Fiend is out for the count. Randy Orton gets the pin. 1, 2, 3.
Where they're going with this, I have no clue. What it all means, I have no clue.
I have a little insight. I found a theory that makes 100% sense. Some other little tidbits I found out. The Vegas odds on this thing were heavily in Bray Wyatt's favor. Bray Wyatt was the favorite by far to win this match in real life Las Vegas odds. Also found out Vince McMahon changed the ending of this match about 3 hours before WrestleMania. So it was scheduled for Bray Wyatt to win. Now, the theory I heard, which it doesn't make sense if we're in real life, but we're in a world here where the Firefly Funhouse exists, and John Cena can have a mushroom trip wrestling match in an imaginary world.
You have to take this as like an alternate universe in WWE. This isn't WWE main roster. This is an alternate universe in the Bray Wyatt matches.
Precisely. And this is the theory. The theory is that Bray Wyatt gets his superhuman strength and powers from Sister Abigail. Sister Abigail apparently is the Black Sludge. And once Bray Wyatt was turned into Fiendy Kruger and burnt to a crisp, Sister Abigail needed a new host. She tried to get into Randy Orton. Randy Orton kept spitting her out. And she finally found her new host in Alexa Bliss. And the overflow of the Black Sludge was supposedly all the power overflowing into Alexa Bliss. At that point, supposedly, Fiendy Kruger lost all his superhuman strength, and that's why one RKO was enough to take him down. If that's not the theory, I would be slightly disappointed because it is the only thing in this crazy-ass Bray Wyatt world that makes any sense whatsoever.
It's an interesting theory. They tell it right. It could be an interesting story. So we shall see. I can go along with it and have some fun, but if it's got to be told right to me to sit down and buy it too. So,
right. And this was also where it was rumored that Bo Dallas comes in. Bo Dallas, again, the real life brother of Bray Wyatt, was supposed to enter this feud and be involved in this and perhaps be a new Fiend. Who knows? That was a huge rumor going around the wrestling world there. And now with Bo Dallas out on his ass, who knows where this feud's going?
It's Mike Rotunda. They're bringing in IRS. He is actually the Fiend, and he's going to, because your tax papers are due, and he's actually held Sister Abigail inside his briefcase.
Yes, today, April 15th, is the traditional tax deadline. So this is where IRS is getting his Sister Abigail powers together, and he's filling up all his ink pens with Sister Abigail juice and his 1040 forms.
He killed his daughter and filled them up in ink pens. That's what makes him an evil tax man.
Yes, I see it.
That was an interesting 5 minutes and an interesting way to open up WrestleMania Night 2. I didn't see it being put that high in the card. I didn't see it, obviously, as a main event. I didn't see it being put on that high in the card. We move on now, I believe, unless you got anything else, to the Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Natalya, and Tamina match.
Don't you want to see Titus O'Neil, Hulk Hogan, and Eric Bischoff talking backstage so that Bayley can come back and do some butt kissing on old Eric Bischoff here and have her get blown off again?
Cool. And then there's this tag match that happens.
I mean, Karen's got to get blown off, and she does. Now we have this Raw Women's Championship. Is it Raw? I don't fucking know. Tag Team Women's Championship.
I think it's just WWE
match.
Women's Tag Team. I think they can float. They are.
Okay.
They are commingled brands.
There's so many fucking belts floating around. I don't know the stupid
Everybody
rules.
gets one.
But you got Natalya and Tamina, who usually get shit on, but Natty's getting up there, man. She's getting old, and she hasn't had any real WrestleMania moments. So my money was on Natty and Tamina in this match against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. I thought they were going to have them drop the belt so that they could move on with this splitting up thing that they seem to be teasing between Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax.
Yep. They didn't do that.
Definitely not.
This match was pretty boring. I really, be honest with you, didn't. You couldn't have a lot invested in this match because you were only aware of it 24 hours ago. So
right,
it wasn't like it was this long feud thing. You're going, well, are they gonna flip flop the titles? And they just seem to always shit on Natalya. So I was with, no, they're not gonna split the titles.
I'm trying to scroll through my notes here and see if there's any cool spots. Natalya catapulting Shayna Baszler into a Tamina super kick. That was actually like a pretty decent spot for a women's match. Baszler doing her heel shit, working Natty's ankle, stomping it there. Nia Jax focusing on Natalya's leg. So you got truly defined heels and baby faces here. The majority of people are about tired of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, I'd imagine.
Just tired of Nia Jax.
Yeah, so to speak. And Shayna Baszler, I don't know. I don't think they released Samoa Joe. I think Samoa Joe is one of the women's tag team champions. But let's see. Tamina does end up looking pretty good in this match, especially with her hot tag. She's showing that, and for a big girl, she can fucking move, and she's strong as hell. She's not a clunky, woolly mammoth like Nia Jax here. It was fun to see Nia Jax trash talking Tamina and dropping an S-bomb on the show, screaming at Tamina, "You ain't shit." And old Peacock was late on the bleep button there and completely missed it.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Who gives a shit?
Kind of a convoluted finish to this match. Shayna Baszler makes an illegal tag to tag herself in on Nia Jax by slapping her back. Natalya either doesn't see the tag or she doesn't acknowledge the tag, ends up putting the sharpshooter on Nia Jax, Jax is not the legal person in this match. Shayna Baszler comes in, ends up choking Natty out, and Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax retain the women's tag team championships.
Woohoo! Yeah, do we
Yeah.
go backstage for anything?
What's that?
Do we go backstage for anything post-match?
Oh, no, we are rolling.
Oh, we just roll right into it.
An actual decent match on this card, Brian.
I mean,
Rampa.
if this one let me down, I had no faith. I had no faith in the Randy Orton Fiend match because I expected what I got. So I was not let down, but I'm not saying I was blown away. I just got what I expected. The women's tag team match, if I could have fast-forwarded live TV, I would have. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. If this didn't deliver, night 2 could have just been a wrap. This had to deliver. These two, they fought 7,000 times between Japan and every indie scene,
Ring of Honor, yeah.
and anything in between, every bingo hall from here to Nantucket. They've wrestled in them all. So if they can't put on a show, whether you're calling him Sami Zayn or El Generico, whether you're calling him Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen, it's the same bastards in the ring. So these two came out, and they didn't give him a lot of time, but the time they did give him, they used every minute of it properly.
Right. This match had everything you needed to be a fantastic match. All they had to do was deliver, and they did. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in real life being best pals, best friends here with tremendous chemistry. So there was no way this match could have gone wrong unless WWE had too many hands on it, in which case they could have fucked it up. But no, this match was fantastic. Sami Zayn jumping the gun here and just going after KO from the get, and KO just power bombing the shit out of him. And that was the start of what Sami Zayn does, man. He is a fantastic seller. He can sell his ass off.
100%. And the other beautiful part of this is we have KO Mania 5. Kevin Owens has his KO Mania shirt on in the replica form of the Mega Powers Collide, and teasing that from what they did at WrestleMania 5. And I've loved that he's taken that under his wing, and every year we get a new KO Mania shirt. And I wonder if he'll be allowed to do that now that we don't have any numbers with WrestleMania. So
we shall see. Time can tell.
Did Vince just kill KO Mania?
He may have. Yeah, I'm surprised he's letting Kevin Owens go as far as he does, because Vince is not a fan of the chunky boys. He's a body man. He wants muscles. He wants abs.
Unless you're a giant. You can be a giant sloppy guy. Right? If he was
Either
6'9",
giant, or you're willing to be made fun of constantly for being a fucking fat goof.
But not an actually pretty decent athlete that's, has a dad bod.
Right. Kevin Owens and I are probably in the same realm as height, weight, and body build here. And when I look in the mirror, I don't see WWE superstar, but Kevin Owens can cut the sleeves off of a t-shirt and put on some jorts or some basketball shorts, and pretty much dress like I do when I go to bed. And he can pretty much be in the top half of a WrestleMania card.
Legend has it that gimmick of his in his t-shirt and basketball shorts comes from him trying to piss off Jim Cornette.
I wouldn't doubt it. Cornette
in Ring of Honor, he would throw a fit that he doesn't wear proper wrestling gear, because he used to wear like a singlet. Kevin Steen,
okay.
As Kevin Steen, and then he would started adding. I think he wore basketball shorts over his singlet, and then just turned it into the t-shirt and and it was a whole big gimmick that he was just to piss off Jim Cornette that he hated it.
And Jim Cornette has probably confirmed that here or there, because in his podcast and review of WrestleMania this week, he offers his condolences to the not the booker, but the uh, whoever's in charge of the match there. What pretty much what
The ring for the producer.
Yes, the producer of this match, because he said in Ring of Honor, El Generico, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Steen were the two biggest pains in the asses that he could have ever dealt with in that company. So he knew that when they were putting this match together, that it was just a ton of back talk and bitching and moaning and smart assery being thrown around from Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
Well, nonetheless, they can be pains and smartassery. They put on entertaining shit in the ring. When the cameras are on, they say go.
They did, and they managed to keep some of their indie shit alive, which we fully expected. Sami Zayn doing this release suplex on Kevin Owens right onto the hardest part of the ring. And boy, KO landed right on his upper back and lower neck there. And that looked rough. I visibly oofed when I saw that.
At least now they're saving it in front of a live audience of 25,000 and, a viewing audience of, in the millions, I'm sure. At least 1 million viewers watching WrestleMania. So you're going, at least they're doing that and not in 7 people in a bingo hall.
Right, for sure. If they're going to get hurt, this is the place to do it, I guess. Let's not forget we got one of the Paul brothers there. I think this is Logan Paul hanging out at this match. And he's just sitting ringside in an office chair, just looking like a clueless fuck the entire time.
Which, you know what, though, is 100% fine with me. I'm glad that he wasn't dancing around the outside of the ring like a manager. He stayed out of the way and just sat there and enjoyed the match as a fan and the friend of Sami Zayn, which is fine with me. Sit over there and he can look like an idiot, whatever. But I'm just glad that he wasn't super involved in the match.
Yeah. Logan Paul, probably one of the most genuine things in this whole WrestleMania card, because I don't think they clued him in on anything of what wrestling is or how it works or what he should do. He was just there as a clueless mark. Just give me my check, Vince. I've got some fucking rap videos or pranks to pull.
Yeah.
Whatever the Paul brothers do.
I was glad, like I said, that he just did what he did and sat there, because I think if he could have got involved, he does have a bit of a big head of who he is and thinks that he's, a boxer now. I don't see Sami Zayn, or not Sami Zayn, he was Sami's friend, so Sami probably wouldn't have turned on him, but I don't see Kevin Owens playing nice. If Kevin Owens has to defend his business live on WrestleMania, he'll probably do what needs to be done.
Right. If Mr. Paul overstepped his bounds here, KO would have definitely put him in his place. But back to the match. This match put out and put the spotlight on everything that KO and Sami Zayn do well. Their brawling looked fantastic. Their over-the-top moves looked fantastic. Selling from both guys was great. We get a lot of big moves here. Between the big splash from Kevin Owens on Sami Zayn there for a 2 count. Kevin Owens pump handle neck breaker, 2 count on that one. Sami Zayn hitting that exploder on Kevin Owens in the corner. We just got like a flurry of huge moves here. Zayn hitting that blue thunder bomb for a 2 count. And Sami Zayn hits an exploder, a release suplex, and a brain buster back to back to back on Kevin Owens, and it's a 2 count. So that's the only point where you're like, all right, we're hitting not just big moves one at a time, but we're hitting them in fucking chains. And that's still not enough to take KO out, he's the Terminator.
I am the Terminator. My cringy Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
Right here, I have a list of of their big moves here. Sami Zayn attempting a superplex, Kevin Owens countering that with a top rope fisherman suplex.
Yeah, that was dope.
So that was sick here. Sami Zayn with his hallelujah kick or whatever. Kevin Owens ends up super kicking him, and another super kick from Kevin Owens. And finally, Kevin Owens hits that stunner after two big moves, after two big super kicks, and ends up getting the win. And one thing that was missing from this match, I'm not complaining because I feel it's overdone when he does it on every single big show, but there was no absolutely retarded spots from Kevin Owens. He didn't jump off the pirate ship on top of Raymond James Stadium or anything like that.
No, there was none of the big spot. He did take a couple of oof spots, but nothing big. So they summed it up with a bunch of little spots. They're going, sure, you want to take a power bomb on the corner of the ring, you psychopath? Go for it.
Right. Logan Paul eventually gets involved in this after Sami Zayn is out and down for the count there. Logan checks on Zayn. Logan Paul tells KO that the match was awesome and tries to shake his hand. Sami Zayn, being the shitty little heel that he is now he's pissed at his buddy Logan Paul, his only ally in this whole conspiracy theory game. Logan Paul shoves Sami Zayn right out of the ring and praises the Sami Zayn for selling the shit out of that, flying out of the ring. Logan Paul mocks Sami Zayn, raises Kevin Owens' hand, and you think that they're going to be buddies. And you and I'm sure neither one of us really expected Kevin Owens to play along and roll with that.
Yeah, no. You saw it coming. And especially the move that he uses, right? KO is reviving the stunner, and the stunner's a fuck you move.
Right.
Austin
and he
made
uses
that
it
famous.
Just like Stone Cold.
Exactly. Austin made that famous where it was like the turn on you and then boom, a nice kick to the gut and a stiff, terribly sold stunner from Logan Paul.
Yeah, and in the internet wrestling community, Logan Paul was getting praises for how he took this stunner. I thought it looked like shit. He took the stunner and did a somersault forward, and I thought that was an ugly sell, an ugly way to take a stunner.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't die, so he's got that going for him. He didn't get his neck broken. The only people that sold a good stunner were The Rock and Vince McMahon. They sold him the best. The Rock would stand on his head, and then Vince McMahon would have seizures.
So we come off a fantastic match, and we're going backstage for just another pure abomination, a waste of time. Whoever produced this shit needs to be shot. Matt Riddle scootering up to Great Khali backstage, and this, I don't know what the goal of this was. It just was a pile of dog shit. Great Khali barely speaks English. Matt Riddle barely speaks English because he just what, yeah, brah. Riddle's got this stupid ass gimmick where he's always trying to make a side hustle, telling Great Khali he needs to open a giant store. Great Khali just doesn't respond at all. RVD shows up, pimping his rolling papers because that's his side hustle apparently. And apparently RVD speaks Hindi now because Great Khali ends up talking and RVD translates for him. And
that's that.
Yeah, that was about that.
The rolling papers thing surprised me.
That Vince let that slide on WrestleMania TV
on Peacock. You know, this whole new Peacock. If it would have just been on the WrestleMania network, the WWE network, then I would have went with it. But being on Peacock too, it was very surprising. So, nonetheless, I like RVD. I thought RVD should be Riddle's manager or advocate or something, but just because of the whole, stoned gimmick thing that they both have going on. Not even a gimmick. I think just the whole being stoned thing that they both enjoy thing going on. But it was weird. It didn't look like they filled Great Khali that he was going to be on something. They're like, here, stand here. You don't speak English anyways. We don't need to do anything with you. And he probably was literally legitimately asking, like, I don't know what we're doing. There's a producer just pointing, stop, stand there, you giant goof.
I just don't get how this whole side hustle scooter gimmick is supposed to be funny.
It's not.
I think it's bad comedy, and they just keep dragging it on week after week, event after event. I do you think this is a Matt Riddle thing, or do you think this is the shitty writers up in Titan Towers?
This is shitty writing. The wrestlers have no input on shit anymore, I don't believe. You got to be somebody high of. If you don't have a red belt or a red championship or a blue championship, I'm not guessing you get much input these days. The U.S. Championship, they really don't care about you, and that's all Matt Riddle had at the moment. And I use that at the moment as we go into the match of Sheamus for taking on Riddle.
Yeah, Riddle's entrance, fantastic as he does his little jumperoo in the middle of the ring, and you get to see a whole bunch of pirate birds fly out of his ass, complete with little hats and eye patches.
That was strange and weird itself, yes.
I don't get it. WWE is just rolling with this. I think it started with the Braun Strowman choo-choo train sound effects that they're adding as he runs around the ring running into people. Now, this is, I believe, the second time we've had birds fly out of Matt Riddle's ass when he jumps out, jumps in the air, and this time they're dressed in pirate gimmicks.
Well, of course, it's WrestleMania. You got to wear your best gear.
I don't know what the target audience for this comedy is.
Yeah, it's nowhere. To be honest with you, this whole night 2 sucks a big weenie. Up until there's 7 matches, and the only good ones are match 3 with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and then 6 and 7 are your championship matches. The rest of this could have been Control-Alt-deleted.
Right, I'm scrolling through my notes here for anything significant in this match, and
Sheamus defeats Matt Riddle for the U.S. Championship. That's about the most. I just didn't. The match, it wasn't like it was like terrible dog shit where it looked like these people didn't know how to wrestle. It was just that it was missing the entertainment portion.
Right. I mean, we got to see classic Sheamus pretty much. We got to see the normal shit that he does, the clubs to the chest there.
The 10 beats of the Bowery.
I've been a fan of those since way back in the day. Those clubs look devastating. Matt Riddle doing his normal shit, the kicks and strikes and whatnot from his MMA stuff. Trying to get to, I know there's one big one here. Yes. Matt Riddle backflipping off of the middle rope there, and Sheamus brogue kicking him right in the face.
Yes. That looked like good timing on everybody.
Yeah, that looked stiff as fuck. I don't know if Riddle lost a couple teeth on that, but that was pretty much a wrap on this match. Sheamus is your new U.S. title champion.
Yeah, whatever that's worth these days. And then following mid-card championship matches, you get Apollo Crews and Big E for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yes. And this was a clusterfuck too. What was this gimmick of a match? This is a Nigerian drum match, Brian.
Yes, a Nigerian drum fight. So basically, the best was I went over to Jake's house, and while I'm watching this, our friend Jake, good friend of the show, and I'm grabbing a drink, and he says, I said, what kind of match is this? And he yells, Nigerian drum fight. I said, well, how do you win it? And he goes, they just said by pinfall or submission. I said, well, isn't that how you win any match? I believe so. So what's the difference? I don't know. And that was our conversation on what this match and how it works. They put out some gimmicks around the ring of some African Nigerian drums and gongs and cymbals type stuff, and they could use it to hit each other with.
Yeah, that about sums it up there. If you're at home and you're writing a wrestling encyclopedia here For your Nigerian drum fight entrance, it's a no DQ match with drums and cymbals around the ring.
So the story they told that went with this match made more sense than the match itself. The story they tell is that from, in Nigeria, they would pound the drums with more and more intensity as the two men fought for their lives or for the control of the nation to be the king. I don't know what they were fighting for. I didn't research my Nigerian history, but nonetheless, that makes sense, right? So why they didn't have a type of, why didn't they have a bunch of people around the ring being Apollo Cruz's tribe, if you will, and pounding on the drums and turning up the intensity and making it into something instead of just having some bootsy-ass weapons around the ring that you didn't care about. That would have just been a little more interesting, right? It would have got annoying after a while, but they only gave the goddamn match 6 minutes as it is.
I'm willing to bet that was probably what the original plan was, to have some jobbers, to have somebody around beating on drums during this match. But they probably realized how shitty that would be for the sound. I mean, I guess they could have faded it down a little bit, but yeah, this just ended up being a fart in the wind pretty much as an entire match. We had a performance from Wale, which I wasn't really feeling that much, but Wale has partnered up with WWE and Foot Action for a clothing line that is featuring black WWE champions. So on t-shirts and jackets and hoodies and whatnot. So that's why Wale was there, because as far as I know, Wale hasn't been relevant in quite a while.
I mean, he has a little deal with TBS when he was hosting Seinfeld one summer, but nonetheless, when he would do his Wale Seinfeld mixtapes or something, but
he's definitely not on Logan Paul Bad Bunny status when it comes to popularity.
Well, hell, I didn't know Bad Bunny was on Bad Bunny status when it came to popularity until he came out. Apollo Crews defeats Big E in some type of match and is your new Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
I thought this match was a stinkeroony, too. I thought, man, the middle of this card is stinking up the joint with 4 and 5 right in a row, man. Sheamus and Riddle, followed by Apollo and Big E.
Yes, and after this match, or let's see, we get a Big E big ending, and then that big goofy fuck from Raw Underground comes out.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot remember his name.
I looked it up, too. Hold on.
But yeah, that asshole, Brian will have your name here in a moment. He comes out, and he is Apollo Cruz's new Nigerian sidekick here. Dressed straight out of Nigeria with just some beat up ass military jacket on, and he's 7 foot tall and
looked like he just went shopping at the Salvation Army here.
Precisely.
Daba Kato. Daba Kato.
Yes, Daba Kato is Apollo Cruz's new sidekick. He gets the win for Apollo over Big E, and just as I and Brian couldn't remember Daba Kato's name, the commentators had no idea, apparently, that Daba Kato was just on Raw Underground probably like 2 or 3 months ago. They acted like they've never seen him before in their entire lives.
That's Vince just pulling a Vince, like just bury that thing. They'll never speak of Raw Underground again. They'll never say that he's from Raw Underground. They'll never use that again because it was such a big waste of time and a big, terrible, terrible experiment. I forgot about that. That is a little bit of, something that happened that made this match have a third of a star in a 5-star rating, that some giant guy made a return, if you will. But that just gets the push because he's tall and big. He gets an almost pop.
Omos.
Yep, he gets that Omos pop. Almost give a damn. And then we move on. Do we go backstage for anything?
Nope. I've got this as our Raw Women's Championship match. We've got Rhea Ripley taking on the champion, Asuka. And Asuka's got a bad habit of getting screwed over in WWE pay-per-views. Just the logical thing to do was to put Rhea Ripley over and to give her the belt, as she lost big at last year's WrestleMania and kind of was just a fart in the wind for an entire year. And they started pushing her recently. Asuka has a tendency to lose at big events. So this was a match that went precisely as planned. And I think we all pretty much knew the ending, and we just had to see how they filled in the blanks. And I think these two did a pretty good job filling in those blanks.
Well, we went from we started down at the bottom in this card in general, from match 1 all the way to this point. So from here, really, it's hard to stink it up. I mean, we had the peak there with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and then right back down the drain. 2 stinkers, a good one, 2 stinkers, and then a good match here. So there was nowhere to go but up at this point for me. And Rhea Ripley and Asuka, 2 great performers. They put the E in entertainment. They put the W in wrestling. This was the WWE at its finest. I don't hate Asuka. I don't love Asuka. I think she's a good performer and a good wrestler. I do like how I very underestimated Asuka, that she would be a terrible champion because she doesn't speak English, or doesn't speak English very well. But in this last year, she sold, and I understood everything that was happening with Asuka just by her tone of talking in a completely different language that I do not understand. And when she yelled and cheered and jumped, I knew she was happy. And when she screamed and grabbed her hair, I knew she was mad. And when she talked slowly, I knew she was calm, and it just made sense somehow. And it worked. So I liked it. And then I like Rhea Ripley, and you put these two in the ring and just kind of let them do what they do. And they did a dance and told a great story.
Right. This match as a whole had a faster pace to it to kind of wake you up a little bit. After that stinker that we just watched between Cruz and Big E there, Asuka does her thing, tons of kicks. Rhea Ripley, she's a fan favorite, but she's really trying to get herself over as a heel here. And so a lot of taunting from Rhea Ripley, a lot of brawling and moves that accentuate her strength.
This was the same thing that you stated in the Bianca Belair Sasha Banks match, is they let each person do what they're good at, and that's all you saw. Same thing with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. It's kind of an underlying theme here. They just went out and did their own highlight reels of matches.
Right.
And it worked out great.
It did. Rhea Ripley, so her strength is her strength, for the most part. And you just get a huge display of it here. Asuka putting an ankle lock on Rhea Ripley here. Ripley being able to lift her up and German suplex her from an ankle lock. And that's Rhea Ripley, man. That's why she is, I would say, just behind Charlotte Flair as the top woman in this company. And she's only like 24, 25 years old, something like that.
Yes, her strength is believable. So it's not a strength on a person. They're not going, you're going to be our strong girl. No, you are our strong girl, our strong woman. Anybody coming at me here on the internet. Because she is. She is that strong. So I think that it's a good, it fits. It's not a gimmick that is slapped on her. They didn't reach into the box of gimmicks and say, you're our strong wrestler.
Right. Everything's believable from Ripley. She's just, her natural talent and how well she was trained just comes through. We get this ridiculous DDT from Asuka on Rhea Ripley off of the ring apron onto the floor, which results in a simple 2 count. And that should have, I love Rhea Ripley, but I don't care who you are. If you're getting DDT'd off of a 4-foot ring apron onto the floor, you should probably be injured or at least hurt enough to lay down for a 3 count. But she just Terminators right out of that bitch.
I love Terminators right out of that bitch.
We get Asuka putting Rhea Ripley in an armbar, and then you get another. superhuman strength gimmick from Rhea Ripley here, lifting her up out of an armbar and slamming her.
The thing that
Ripley,
go ahead.
Asuka on the outside of the ring, and Rhea Ripley suplexing her into the ring. And then we're coming to the crescendo of this match here. Asuka with a shoulder lock into an armbar, into an Asuka lock, and Ripley escapes the three big moves from Asuka here. Hits a riptide right off the get right there, and then it's a wrap on this match. So just we're building up, and Asuka looks like she's gonna take it and she's gonna retain, and Rhea Ripley just turns everybody on their heads, hits that riptide, and it's a wrap. Rhea Ripley is your new Raw Women's Champion.
Yeah, I thought that they should have almost put this match and the Randy Orton Fiend match should have flip-flop spots for me. They should have opened up the show with this. These chicks, these ladies, these beautiful, lovely women came out and put on a hell of a show. And you could have put that goofy 5-minute thing in between with Randy Orton and the Fiend in between your championship match. I mean, they went heavy out the gate for the end of this with 2 championship matches back to back. You know, we followed up with the main event for the men, but I think you could have flipped that around. Very happy they throw this on Rhea Ripley. New champions are always good. I like new champions. Doesn't mean I want to see the title change at every pay-per-view, right? They do one a month, so that's going to get a little confusing on who the hell has the championship and the title at that point. There's enough of them now, it gets confusing just in general on what show it's at, who's the champion of what. So I thought they did good there. I did flip on NXT this week on their new Tuesday night. It was pretty cool that they had Raquel Gonzalez, your new NXT Women's Champion, right? She got that at TakeOver. Right. And then, so she's out there. She confronts her new person that's chasing her down for their challenge there. I don't know the chick's name. And then she leaves. It looks like it's going to end. They're going to go to commercial. And boom, Rhea Ripley's music hits. She comes out. And then Bianca Belair's music hits. And she comes out, right? They're all NXT call-ups. Or, you know, and then you got your girl. And then while they're standing there in the ring, holding their championships over their head, holding the straps up, they use the TV where they put the crowd for the audience, and they do a snapshot of like the 3 of them from what had to have been close to their debuts in NXT. So it was pretty cool to see this old flashback shot. So you got the 3 of them currently in the ring, holding their titles up, smiling and just happy to be there, giving hugs, and you know they're breaking down the fourth wall of wrestling, right? Because at some point they were all feuding together, but nonetheless, and then they show them this old picture, and it was cool to see that these girls that came up together and are now the champions running each individual brand. So it was a cool moment.
Well, I've got that NXT on my DVR, and that'll definitely be worth going back and checking out.
Overall, good show as well. So just hang out and watch the whole show. So it was worth it as well. On top of it. And then we move, we get any more backstage or anything? I think we had one more Karen incident with what's her name, didn't we, in the Bella Twins?
Oh, for sure. You get Bailey just being annoying as fuck, and she's interrupted by the Bella Twins. She makes a quick quip about she doesn't know why the Bella Twins are here because John Cena's nowhere to be seen. Sick burn, bro.
Excuse me.
And that yawn was perfectly placed, Brian, because this was a snoozer of a promo here, but the Bella Twins end up beating her up and throwing her down the ramp, and that was about the best performance Bailey did all weekend, was her bump down the ramp.
You know, God bless Bailey. She didn't get a match on the show, but she had so much TV time. So this rebranding...
She did get a good amount of TV time.
This rebranding that they're doing of her character, whatever it comes out to be, is what it is, and we shall see. But, see, she can be mad and say she didn't get a WrestleMania moment, but she got to be on both nights of the show, between about 2 to 3 segments each night. So, I mean, that's more than some people got. Some people got fired the next night.
God bless you, Bailey.
Some people got fired. Some people got fired before the week passed. So, take your good with your bad there, Bailey.
The Iconics had no place on this show, and they got the boot to boot.
They got the boot to boot. We move on to our triple threat match, WWE Universal Championship.
our Universal Championship triple threat, no rules, no DQ um,
Roman,
match here. And
you know what? And I'm gonna be
I
honest
don't.
with you. I did not catch that it was a no rules match, no DQ. I don't know
Oh,
if
they slipped that in. That was not mentioned beforehand. They kind of just slipped that in
last minute, like as it was announcing it,
last minute.
like Michael Cole leaned off of his microphone, so he's like, "This is our triple threat match. It's a no DQ match."
Yeah, they just kind of. Oh yeah, we for the bullshit we've got booked in this match, uh, we're gonna have to make it
You
no
know,
DQ.
that proves they're listening to the podcast, because that's been our number one bitch with AEW, is that as long as you tell me that it's a no rules match, I don't mind if it's no rules. So they said, "Oh shit, the KayFabe Smark guys, they're gonna run down this podcast. They're gonna run down this on their podcast. We better make sure that we slip in there that this is no rules. Otherwise, they're gonna shit all over this." So it was in there very loosely that it was no rules.
Well, you end up in a conundrum anyway, because if it's not DQ, if you can get, if you can lose by hitting somebody with a chair, well, then it can't be a normal triple threat match. It would have to be a triple threat elimination match.
Yes,
Because, yeah,
I
say old Edge walked in there and just whacked somebody with a chair. I guess whoever he whacked with a chair would end up being the winner if it wasn't an elimination style
they're the
match,
champion.
So, yeah, it was just it was booked pretty shittily. No matter how you look at it, this thing, no matter who you chose as Roman Reigns' opponent, whether it was Daniel Bryan, which we just saw a couple weeks ago, or if it was Edge, I think it would have worked out better to have a one-on-one championship match rather than just trying to cram everybody in here for a triple threat.
And by everybody, Jey Uso's involved in this more than somebody who's not even for somebody who's not even in the match.
The match has barely started, and I think maybe it's no disqualification has just rolled off Michael Cole's lips, and Jey Uso's bitch ass is already in the ring attacking Daniel Bryan. And I get it. This is Roman Reigns' shtick. You know, he'll win by any means necessary. He's got his henchmen to help him win everything. But just too much. This match was already too much, and you got to get Jey Uso involved in it.
Yeah, I thought that sucked, the Jey Uso involvement. The best part of this, though, was a lot of the Paul Heyman outside the ring. He's just great. The way that he was selling, selling a move that Roman Reigns is locked in. Roman Reigns is like, I think Daniel Bryan had him in in the yes lock or something, and he's selling it like on the outside of the ring, just making these faces, these over accentuated faces. And then finally Edge wakes up from his coma that he was in over in the corner for 20 minutes. And he comes over, and then he just starts telling Edge what to do. Like he's Edge's manager now, because Edge will go hit Daniel Bryan to let go of the yes lock, so then Daniel Bryan can't win. So he's like, hey, then he's directing traffic again. It's perfect. It was just whatever it takes for Paul Heyman to get a W for his guy is what he was doing. And I loved it. The other thing about this match that I was hoping they didn't do, and they did, because it's WWE's formula, is they used the Money in the Bank formula for this match. Meaning, two guys wrestle, the other odd guys in the match go lay on the side and are knocked out. And it rotates for who's in the ring and who's on the outside. And that's really what we had, is a constant 2-on-2, whether it was Edge and Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns is tired on the outside or whatever, and then it flip-flops, and then it's the three of them, and then Daniel Bryan gets thrown to the outside so he can rest up, and now it's Roman Reigns and Edge, and it just keeps cycling through that basically throughout the entire match. And I was hoping they wouldn't do that with three guys, and they did.
Yeah, again, just very lazily booked. It would have took a lot of creativity and a lot of cooperation to make it look smooth if you always had three guys involved. So I understand it's a lot easier to have just two guys wrestling at a time, and you have your third one just kind of over in the corner knitting a sweater or whatever. But that's not what you do for the main event of WrestleMania. The main event, as in night 2, Sunday night, that's not how you book the biggest match of the year that's supposed to be.
And the thing that I don't get, like, I don't want to sound like an internet wrestling nerd, but here I am on the internet talking about wrestling, being a nerd. I just don't get the hype that they put into Edge winning the Royal Rumble. They put the hype of building him to choose his champion. And just the way it ends and gets buried and put away, that it was a lot of build-up for a minimal amount of, reward.
Right.
The match itself, to me, like, this isn't a discuss it type match. Like, we'll usually break down some of the stuff that happened in between. There was just so much bullshit. There's just guys, there's just 3 guys rolling around the ring all the time, and 2 in, 1 out, 2 in, 1 out. So, but just the psychology of the match. Okay, Roman Reigns is just the head dude, right? He's just he just can't be beat.
Right. As you're probably catching on that we're alluding to, and you probably know because this was last Sunday and it's Thursday now, Roman Reigns ends up retaining his championship over Edge and over Daniel Bryan. And just like you said, why build up Edge this much just to have him lose to Roman Reigns? Why put so much emphasis on Daniel Bryan, this quite possibly being his last WrestleMania and his last, chance to have a good title run, for nothing? And yeah, it just, I get it for keep the fans on their toes type of thing, but it just seems like a waste of booking for both Daniel Bryan and Edge.
Yeah, like, it would have been better off to have Daniel Bryan and Edge fight one-on-one to then take on Roman Reigns at another pay-per-view, or from night 1 to have Edge and Roman Reigns, or I'm sorry, Edge and Daniel Bryan have to fight one-on-one to take on Roman Reigns night 2, and then just make it a singles match of the winner of those 2. And I think you could have done more exciting with that. But the 3 of them, then Jey Uso's in, and then he's injured, and then he's out, and then he's back in the middle of the match, and then he sucks anyways. Like, he doesn't really, like, it's not that he sucks, it's just he's not a singles guy. I don't buy him as being, he shouldn't be in the mix with these guys.
Right. This whole thing was just a clusterfuck from the get, and it even ends on a clusterfuck note there where Edge does a bunch of chair shit throughout the match here, but we end up with Edge having a crossface on Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan putting in the yes lock on Roman Reigns at the exact same time. And it's just so contrived. It's a clusterfuck, Brian. Like, no smoothness to this whatsoever. It's just a waste of talent.
Yeah. I didn't care for any of this, and I saw the way it was going to go. My heart wanted Edge. My brain knew Roman Reigns was winning.
Yeah, and the internet wrestling community pointed out through memes from night 1 when Vince came out and thanked all the fans and everything, and all your WWE superstars were out on the main stage for the singing of America the Beautiful. Roman Reigns was about 5 feet from Vince McMahon.
Yeah, with the family. It was like Roman Reigns is part of the family.
Yeah, pretty much. If you're standing that close to Vince, there's no way you're dropping the title that weekend, that event.
Wouldn't guess that. Well, that's your WrestleMania wrap up, right? I mean, we got anything else in here? We know who won, and go back. It was just a clusterfuck. It was a shitty way to end the match, or the whole weekend. Night 2 should have been the night, and night 1 outshined it.
Yeah, that was when you and I were talking last week about what we were excited for WrestleMania. On paper, night 2 sounded way better.
Yeah, and then after it unfolded, man, night one shined. Except for that tag team turmoil match, I didn't care for that. But other than that, it was pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we're coming up on a long show here, so we'll just go ahead and wrap this up. Roman Reigns still your Universal WWE champion, and we'll probably be back to normal with some AEW next week. I haven't watched AEW in a couple weeks, so we'll see what's going on over in their world.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, make sure you head on over to all of our social media platforms, the KayFabe Smark, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, and hang out with us over there. Make sure you head on over to audibletrial.com/thekayfabesmark. Get yourself a free audiobook, free 30-day trial, all of that fun stuff. And, yeah, let's hang out and talk some wrestling. Share this, rate it, review it on iTunes and Spotify. And, Eric, what do you have for us?
All I have is a big hooty hoo. We out the gates.